We're laying the wrong foundations in our relationships to where we can't have these open discussions about sex and other things lacking in our relationship.
How important is sex in a relationship?
Hugely important.
This is coming from a guy who's abstinent, right?
Yeah, right? Well, you know what? To me, I say hugely important from the standpoint of, I think people have to look at sex not just from the perspective of pleasure, but from the perspective of bonding. I believe it is an opportunity for two people to grow closer together. And when two people know how to truly satisfy each other, it creates an amazing bond.
Deeper connection, better balance.
Exactly.
More attraction.
Yes.
And
all
it keeps
of
it going.
Exactly. Because if you have two unsatisfied people sexually, you're going to have a problem. You can't find a relationship where that exists and they're all happy and everything's great. It doesn't work that way. People crave intimacy. People crave that level of bonding with each other. And yes, biologically speaking, we can talk about the needs of a man and a woman and all these things, but I think even going deeper spiritually and all that, sex is important. And we are not taking enough of a mature approach to understanding and learning sex. I think people are very much behind in their understanding of it.
Especially in America, it's like we weren't educated.
Exactly.
It's a very hush-hush type of thing. It's not talked about in schools. Your parents, at least most parents, aren't talking about it until it's like the moment, and it's like, let me say something to just get it out and then let them figure it out.
Well, and not just that, a lot of our parents don't know either.
Right.
Like, people just don't take time to get more educated on their bodies, on sex, on true sexual satisfaction. There's a lot of lies going on. I tell people all the time, listen, a lot of women aren't being sexually satisfied, all right? But they're lying to their friends, they're lying to their partners.
Right.
So there's a perception that everything is all good. No, it's not. There's a huge disconnect between the reality or the perception of women's sexual satisfaction and the reality of women's sexual satisfaction. And that contributes to a disconnect in marriages. Because again, if the woman is not satisfied, she now becomes less willing to be sexually involved with her husband. Now, he starts to gain resentment. He starts to feel neglected.
Starts to wander.
Exactly. Snowballs from there. We can't overlook that and act like everything's going to be fine. And we can't say, well, you should love them enough to where it doesn't matter. Listen, we're talking about maintaining a committed relationship. That's a part of it. Plain and simple. And we have to learn how to make it better on both sides and how to be more honest with each other. I think if we can learn to be more honest and transparent, then we can work on the things that are lacking.
Wow.
But people, again, they feel very uncomfortable speaking about sex, speaking about their needs, and constructively criticizing their partners. We have to learn how to do that.
Because you don't want to hurt someone, yeah. So
exactly.
How often should we be talking about our sexual needs in an intimate relationship? Should it be like once a month we sit down and like schedule it out? Is it like pillow talk every week? Like, what should be, again, everyone's different, but what do you think is an appropriate amount of time?
Yeah, I think it depends. So what jumps in my head, I would say every 3 months, if I had to put a number on it, all right? But I do think it depends on the couple. I think more so it's when an issue arises, talk about it.
There you go.
The key is we have to create environments where we can have those talks. See, again, we're laying the wrong foundations in our relationships to where we can't have these open discussions about sex and other things lacking in our relationship. And we're afraid to push our partners away. We're afraid to ruffle the feathers or rock the boat. But if you can't talk to them...
We resent things, right?
Exactly. And what happens is you hold it in, and now the negative energy comes out in other ways. And now they're confused because they're like, why are they giving me this attitude? And they're thinking, like I said earlier, he's thinking it's about the towel. No, it's not about the towel. It's really about something else that you're not telling him. So we need to be more honest and transparent, and we need to create an environment where we can have this talk and you're not going to take it personally to the where you're going to internalize it or allow it to now throw our relationship off because you're getting upset and you're allowing it to, have a negative impact. No, take it as, okay, that's how you feel. Cool. Let's work on this. How can we make this better? We have to be serious about tending to the needs of our partner if we're going to have successful relationships.
Yeah. There's so many divorces happening. It's higher than ever, right?
Yeah.
I think we had a divorce attorney on who's talking about how it's higher than ever. There's also even more people who stay married who probably should be divorced, who aren't happy. And so it sounds like there's a very small percentage of married people who've been together for many years who are actually still thriving in relationship. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more, but it sounds like it, right? There's a very small percentage that are having like these incredible, long-lasting marriages and relationships that like have the attraction and connection and balance and all these things. Why do you think that is, and how can we decrease the number of failed relationships? Or is that the wrong question to ask?
No, I think it's a good question. I think, well, one, we have to understand marriage is not the issue. It's marrying the wrong person and marrying for the wrong reasons. All right? And then underlying to those things is the lack of healing. Because it's the lack of healing that leads us into these wrong relationships and allows us to entertain situations we should not entertain. Because again, for example, if you're a guy or woman, if you've been through some things and now you think you don't deserve that great person, that great relationship, because your perception of yourself is low, now you're going to just latch on to whoever comes around who says, I want to be with you and willing to give you what you want at that moment.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, this is safe. This will work. Let me go ahead and go with it. But you're never truly into them like that. It's never going to be the relationship it needs to be. All right. But that all stemmed from your lack of self-worth because you didn't heal from whatever traumatized you emotionally before.
So how do we heal first? What's that process look like?
So it's a long process, and I do plan on, I have a book I'm working on right now called Finding Love After Heartbreak, and it's going to lay out the entire process. But, so I'll give a little bit right now, and I'll save the rest for later.
Great.
So one thing is first we got to get the hurt out. And so I have this exercise I do at all my events called the Who Hurt Me list. And so you get a piece of paper.
It could be like 100 people, like, oh, motherfucker.
It happens. Ask yourself the question, who hurt me? And now every person who comes to mind, write them on that paper. Doesn't matter if you think you moved past it. Doesn't matter if you think it's small and insignificant. If they came to mind when you asked yourself that question, put them on the paper.
Anyone in your life.
Anyone
from a childhood friend to your parents to a lover.
Anyone. Yeah. Anyone, anything. If they come to mind, put them on that list. Because that's how we start to recognize the pain points in your life. Now we see, okay, this is where it's coming from. A lot of people have suppressed what has happened to them. And so you can't address and resolve something that you're not willing to accept exists in your life. And the reality is that just because it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it's still lingering within you. And it's causing a lot of problems. And it causes a lot of emotional stress, which then turns into physical ailments. And it just snowballs from there.
Tension, anxiety,
all of
fear,
that. Yes, depression.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of these things that we go through in mental health stems from things that we have not resolved from our past. All right. And it's just all contributing to the issues that we're experiencing in the now. Right. And some of us, we may not be experiencing the issues right now, but we will. It's coming. It's just festering in you, and it's going to come out at some point.
Yeah. So write a list and think about those moments and reflect on them, or what's...
Well, no. So at that point, once you get the list, now we can see the first person. And I won't go too much further, but let's just say you're going to have to go through a process of getting things off your chest. We have not released these things from our spirit, from our system, and we need to essentially emotionally detox. And to do that, you've got to get it out. So whether you speak into a recorder, write a letter, something, and like I said,
scream into a pillow, anything, right?
Yeah, but I do want like a full release. Again, we don't fully release.
Would you release each person or just everyone at one time?
So I would say this: you want to start with, let's say, your top 3. Now, I've had clients where they did their top 3, and that kind of, once they got through those, they were able to process everyone differently to where it wasn't necessary to do everyone else. All right. Now, if you have 10 significant experiences and 10 significant different people that need to be addressed, yes, you may have to release with 10 different people. So it depends on the person. And that's why something like this requires a more in-depth process. We got to talk about things. We got to understand what about it did you internalize, how you're seeing it, because some of it is changing your mindset, changing your perception of what happened, understanding that it wasn't about you. Like we said earlier, hurt people hurt people. And so once you understand that, and understand how they behave and why they behave the way they do, it changes how you look at things and how you internalize those situations. So there's so much more we got to get into, but just getting at least that list started, yes, because now you at least get to see, okay, here's where it is. Here's what needs to be addressed. Now let me get help to address these things and start the process of healing so that I'm not ending up in more bad situations or bad relationships.
Repeating the process.
Exactly.
Let's say you've dealt with the hurt and it takes the time that it takes you and you've gone through all that. How do you manifest and attract a partner that you want to be with that has those three keys, the connection, the attraction, and the balance, that you feel like is the one, could be one of the ones? Mm-hmm. How do you set yourself up to attract that incredible partner?
So one, you got to be yourself. So finding yourself is number one. All right. You can't connect with someone if they're connecting with the fake you.
Ooh,
all right.
Yeah.
That's a false connection. So you have to discover who you are, become confident in that, stand strong in it. Now, who is drawn to that person, you know it's real. All right. And so that's where we begin. Two, you need to exude positive energy. All right. To me, and this is, I think this is very important for women. All right. Because the reality is that it's men, or the type of men that a lot of women want, aren't going to be drawn to a negative woman.
No.
There's millions of good women, but that doesn't mean they're positive women. All right? And it's that lack of positive energy that holds them back more than they realize.
Really?
Yes. And
just like even just saying negative things throughout the day. They might be a good person, but if they're always complaining or negative.
Exactly. And not even just what they say. Again, it's how they're coming off. Because
their facial energy, their body language.
Yes. It's like, so look at it like this. I tell people all the time, it's not what you say, it's how you make them feel. Mm-hmm. All right? So you can say all the wonderful things you want, but if in your presence they don't feel at ease, they don't feel peace, they don't feel that positivity, that's still going to throw everything off.
If you say nice things, but you have a frown,
exactly.
It's like, what's the point?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. And what a lot of women aren't realizing is that their energy is off because they have walls up. They're so scared. They're so fixated on protecting themselves.
Because they've been hurt in the past.
Exactly. Haven't healed from those things. But I tell people all the time, the same walls you have up to protect you are the same walls blocking your blessings. All right? So you don't realize you're restricting your ability to love and be loved because you're walking in fear. All right? You can't walk in fear and expect all these wonderful things to happen. It doesn't work that way. Even in business, the ones who succeed are the ones who put the fear aside and say, I'm going to have faith and push forward no matter what, no matter how it looks in front of me, no matter how many people tell me you're doing the wrong thing, get a regular job, whatever. No, you believe what you need to do and you push forward past that fear. It's the same thing with relationships. You have to push forward in faith, not fear, if you want to receive that great relationship. And so, yes, this can happen with men as well. I don't want men thinking they can carry around a bunch of negative energy and they're going to get a great relationship. But I do think it shoots women in the foot more, because here's the other thing that people don't talk about a lot, and some people may not like this, but I'm just going to keep it real.
Yeah, for sure.
It pulls women away from their feminine energy. And
when they're not positive.
When they're not positive. And when they're holding on to these fears and have these walls up. And it's the feminine energy that makes the woman so powerful. That's the tool that's at her disposal that can make the world her oyster, all right? But women have become very detached from their femininity. And the thing is this, a lot of women will say they're not feminine. They're just not that way. I dispute that in most situations. No, you become detached from it. You become uncomfortable with it due to, again, a lack of healing and due to experiences in your life. Now, if you are more masculine, so to speak, and you are happy that way, then by all means, continue to live your life as you are. But if you're not seeing things work for the way that you want them to, and you're in that energy, that more masculine energy, or more further away from your feminine, then consider making a switch. Consider at least trying it.
Yeah.
See the difference. And what I find with a lot of women is that not only is it beneficial to them as far as relationships-wise, it's beneficial in the quality of their life.
For their health.
Their peace, their work, you name it. I have a client, she's a doctor at a big hospital. And when she came to me, she was frustrated with relationships, ready to give up on men. Nobody liked her at work. She was just a hard, tough manager. So we worked on her energy. We worked on healing. We got her energy. We got her to embrace more feminine energy. She will swear by it right now. In 1 month, her whole hospital started to love her.
Wow.
Now they're all helpful, whether they were women or men. Men started coming out the woodworks, all right?
Hey, let me get your number, girl. Let me get at you, girl. Yeah.
She ended up meeting her soon-to-be fiance on an airplane 2 months after we started doing the coaching. So
what were the shifts that she made every single day? Like, what was the things that she said, okay, I'm going to not be this way, I'm going to start trying this?
it was one, being more conscious of your energy. I think number one, we have to be mindful of the energy we're giving off. We become so distracted by our issues that we're facing in the world, by our responsibilities. We're not always in tune with what we're giving off. So to give an example, and this is just a small one, even for me as a man, I work out a lot. When I come out the gym, I started to notice I'm very tense. My face is, hard. Exactly. So I've learned to, when I walk out the gym, take a deep breath, relax the body, relax the muscles, and the energy completely changes. All right? Because yes, you can become very intimidating as a man, just like you can become very intimidating as a woman. And so you have to be mindful of, are you making yourself more approachable? Are you allowing people to feel more comfortable being around you? And so that starts with being mindful of it, being conscious of it. And one great way to do that is get an accountability partner. All right?
Absolutely.
Tell someone who has the ability to be positive, because you don't want to pick a negative person to be your accountability partner. It's going to throw everything off. But you pick a positive person and you say, hey, listen, whenever I'm being negative, whenever I'm giving that bad energy, let me know. Because now when they tell you, you won't always realize when you're doing it, at least not at first. But once they start calling you out, now you become more mindful of it. Now you can take hold of it and control it, and now you master what energy you're giving off at certain times, and that changes everything.
If you want to learn more about how to master your mind, check out this next video right here.
We're all faced with great opportunities brilliantly disguised as impossible situations, and we are at that point, at that nexus point in our evolution as a species. So then you don't try to fix that. That's never going to work. What you do